So part 2 around hidden misalignments in our life. Why is it hidden? Because it's in our subconscious, and many of our decisions that we make in life are subconscious. So we don't even know that we're doing it. Why is this important? Why do I teach this? Why do I have a course around this and a quiz? Because many of our decisions are based on fear when we don't know why we're doing things on an intrinsic and extrinsic level. So I spoke about the practical part of us and then the internal part of us, and how we need to bring those together, understand both of them to be in alignment in life, whether it's in business, career, personal growth, health, relationships, whatever it is. In order for us to be in alignment, we've got a practical part of us that's external, focuses on the external, and an internal part of us and focuses on our inner world. So if you haven't watched already, go back to part 1 so you can get more of an understanding of what I'm talking about. Today I'm going to talk about how it manifests in everyday life, our misalignment, when we are misaligned in the practical or in the internal, and maybe a bit of both. So on the practical side of things, when we're misaligned, what we will find is we will get burnout, bankruptcy, we will have big highs and lows. So we may say, if you're in business, you may have really good income one month, and then the next month you may drop to almost nothing. Or maybe you have clients and things are going really well, and then you lose everyone. So it will be that sort of thing, but it also will be finding life hard, going to work, business, relationships, health. There'll be something in your life that you find really difficult to do. That means that there's a misalignment there when it's hard. This is really common for people who push through and self-abandon. What does self-abandonment mean? We've all been taught to do this in our society. It means push through, let go really fast, let it go, push through. And even if you're in pain or suffering, you just don't worry about it, because things in life are not always enjoyable. And so when we self-abandon, we've got a certain capacity to do this in life, right? Sometimes we need to do it and we come back to self later on. But sometimes we do it so much that our body collapses in that. So that's why we get burnout, because we've abandoned our own health needs, desires, wants, our own things that we enjoy, and our own identity too, so we can enmesh with people. So that's on a practical side. Let's say that's where you lean. So you might be really on the go. Things are quite like you've got to get things done. You've got checklists. You are the doer. You're often taking action. So it will manifest as like a disconnect from yourself and family around you. People won't feel fully connected to you, and you will miss things as well. So people often, you may have conflict often with people because you're missing what's happening around you. So that's how it manifests on the practical. Let's go to the internal. So let's say you lean more internal in your decision making and in life, and it's out of balance, out of alignment. What will happen is you will feel stuck, anxious, depressed. You will find yourself procrastinating, not feeling like you're motivated to do anything. You'll find it hard to have structure, organization, planning in life, discipline. All these things will be really difficult. You will really align with the lifestyle of freedom, and at the same time you will identify with wanting to be free because you find it hard to take responsibility. Now on the practical level, when we're more leaning practical, we're taking responsibility of life, right? We're often taking too much responsibility on. And so what happens is that's more of our adult self. We don't enjoy ourselves as much. When we lean more internal, we might find ourselves being more like, I just want to have fun. I don't want to work much. I find it difficult. We can be more freedom-based, or we can feel stuck in what we're doing and not capable, and so we lack confidence and find it difficult to be a part of society. It's really hard. And we often don't know what our value or strengths are, so our worthiness is questioned as well. So those are the two, that's how they can manifest. Now, let's say you've got a bit of both, which is very common. This is very common when you've been brought up in an environment that's highly disorganized, chaotic, or you've had a lot of trauma growing up. You can have a bit of both. So you may go, take risks, spend money, do the course, get therapy, get coaches, like start a business. You might go to and become a manager in an organization. So, you're on the go, you're working hard. And then you might find yourself after a few months collapsing, burning out, where you then may give up. You find it really difficult to keep going. So it's kind of like you're on the go and then you collapse in the difficulty. So what you'll find is relationships make you feel too stressed out. It might be that the inability to hold the tension of the unknown in these spaces and the stresses that come up. So your capacity to deal with the stress is reduced, generally because you haven't built your window of tolerance in that space. So this is what we call bulldozing. So we may go for that thing, not realizing why we're going for it in the first place, so what the motivator is, and then we collapse because there's a part of us that can't keep up. So that's a bulldozing kind of effect. The reason why we make decisions is internal. So we need to know the intrinsic motivator behind why we make decisions in life. And the reason for this is many of us are making decisions based from fear. Those examples that I gave you, if you have any of those, if you resonate with any of those examples, what you're finding is there's a misalignment there. This is completely healthy and normal to have in life. What we want to do, though, is address it. Many of us have learned to avoid, dismiss, devalue, push away the misalignment to keep going, because that's the coping mechanism that we grew up with. And then that it gets worse. So avoidance is the thing that leads to more chaos, more disconnect, more relationship breakdowns. It's the thing that we don't want to do, avoid and deny. So when we are out of alignment in both those areas, that's when we will find that's the signals that we will get. Why is it so important to know your motivation? Because what we want to do is understand when we're coming from fear, when we're running away from something we don't want to feel, or when we are moving towards our growth, our evolution, and something that we want in our life, we want to evolve into, we want to grow into. Once we understand these two things, we can separate that experience. So what does that mean? I no longer fully identify with my fear. Many of us identify with the fear because that's when we say things like, I've never been confident in that and I don't think I'll ever will be. This is just my personality. This is how I've always been. I already know. It can be really like, what would you know? We can be stuck in blaming ourselves, blaming others. And I'm going to go into that in part 3 of this series, is how our motivators come from fear. Like, so what does that look like? What protective mechanisms do we have in place? How is that a part of our identity? And then how you can start to bring a different approach to your decision making. I'm running a decision making course for this specific thing. This is why I go deep into it. I also have one-on-one sessions that you can book in with if you are in this space, and a free quiz that you can do to understand your decision making and on a deeper level. Because when we start to make decisions based on our growth, and bring our fear along and nurture that part of us, that's when we become more aligned. We have less chaos, we have less anxiety, depression, we have less burnout. We don't have to hit crisis point. We don't have to stay stagnant to, change the things up in our life. We can actually catch it before it hits that point. And that's what I love teaching.